When you talk about space, probably Sunita Williams is one of the best names that will come into your mind. And by this time we are talking, you know that Sunita Williams and her colleague Barry Wilmore is actually in space in the International Space Station. And it was a very short trip. The NASA's, the Boeing Starliner crew capsule was sent and they could not come back. They are still in space, stuck in space. So why do you think they are not able to come back, and why did they go up? So in this Explain Wala, we'll discuss all these important concepts like what is the concept of International Space Station? Is it a house in the space or an office in the space? Ultimately, who built it? How can you build a big thing like in the space? And what is the concept of ISS? What is it doing? And most importantly, what is spaceomics? And what is the impact of space flights on human body? We'll find out a lot of things in this Explain Wala with me, Arjun R. Shankar.
When made history.
He had no plan to replace it.
It was also possible for him to make other choices.
We embrace people.
Some exceptions, but I think that the whole notion of working properly.
Before we start, I thought I'll give you some interesting news from the space, some space facts, and you know that from 1997, astronauts in the United States of America, actually going from US, can even vote in the US election. There is a separate ballot system where you can vote from the space. So if you're an US astronaut, you can even vote from the space. And talking about Sunita Williams, you know that she was actually a military helicopter pilot before she became an astronaut, and she has a connection with India, as you know, and she has also a connection with Slovenia. So she is Indian as well as Slovenian, and as a part of her cultural tradition with heritage of India, she brought a samosa to the International Space Station. And as you know, she is the first female astronaut with the longest standing record of a single spacewalk of over 7 hours. And she happens to be the first person to participate in the Boston Marathon from all the way from space in her treadmill in International Space Station. Wow, there are a lot of interesting stories from space. So the ultimate question is, why did Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore go to ISS? Is because they wanted to test the crew test flight. How viable is actually the flight of carrying a crew test flight? So they also wanted to check the ability and the agility of the spacecraft in terms of the launch. How good is it for docking, and what are the re-entry procedures, and is it safe to carry humans in this crew test flight? So all this was the ultimate purpose, to make all this testing. And while at the ISS, the International Space Station, they were also supposed to participate in various experiments to know more about humans, more about the space research and the impact on humans. So this was the ultimate thing. So they were actually carried in the Boeing Starliner series, which was actually created by NASA as well as Boeing. It was created as a part of the commercial crew program of NASA. So the Starliner was created to transport the crews from both the ISS to and fro, from ISS to the low Earth orbits. So it was all capable, but ultimately what happened is it was just an 8-day trip. They were supposed to come back very quickly, but what happened is NASA found out that the Starliner was having some problems. Basically the problem, one of the biggest problem that it was suffering was, it was having some problem with the propulsion system. The propulsion system was having an issue, and later on they suspected that there can be helium leaks in the system. So after a thorough deliberation and scrutinizing, NASA found out that it is not safe. It is not safe for Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore to come back in this. So they said they can wait in the International Space Station, and by February 2025, the SpaceX spacecraft will actually bring them back to Earth. So the ultimate question now is, and I'm sure you must be also puzzling, how can you stay so long in the International Space Station? Do you need, you definitely need oxygen and all the other important support there. Is it really possible that you can stay up there? So that brings us to the question, what is International Space Station, and how is this even possible for you humans to sustain and live up there? Let's find out. The International Space Station is a large spacecraft that exists in the low Earth orbit. So just imagine having a gigantic house in the space. with large rooms or modules, large hallways, and solar panels and robotic arms to give you support. This large house in the space is called as an International Space Station, where you can stay there. Astronauts can stay, find out and do a large space exploration study. It is a place where everything happens, study, research regarding the human biology, the genetics, and every science is actually developed there. And to see important missions like a mission to Moon, mission to Mars, everything is actually getting ready. You can study there. So this house is called as the International Space Station. And you know that this is not an easy thing to build. So 5 major countries and space stations have come together. NASA, obviously America's NASA, and Roscosmos by Russia, and JAXA by Japan, and the European Space Agency, ESA, and the Canadian Space Agency. They've all put in money. They're all collaborating to create this thing called International Space Station. And coming back to Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore, as I asked this question, do you think they can still survive here? Yes, they can still survive here because this ISS is created in such a way that it has all the facilities that you have. It's just like staying in your house, but the only thing is that you know that in the center is actually having microgravity, so zero gravity. You know that your body will be floating. It was awesome to watch Sunita Williams' video from ISS. It was absolutely brilliant to watch it. So as I said, this center has the capacity to generate as much oxygen as you want, recycle water, and handle the waste. And it has the food supply. Yes, you were asking, how do you eat? It has all the food supplies and all the necessary things to make you alive. And in case, the next question is, what if everything, do you have enough food and materials to last for 1 year? No, it is replenished. That is why, just like you order things on Amazon and you order something and the home delivery comes, the delivery agent comes, just like the things are exhausting in the space craft, it will be coming from Earth. That is why that is called as a cargo mission. Just like Amazon brings in, you have taken an example of SpaceX Dragon. The SpaceX Dragon is capable of bringing pressurized and non-pressurized cargoes. It can actually go from Earth, deliver all the important things to the ISS, take back, and it can come back to the Earth. So they replenish all the things through cargo mission. So this is one such way, and this is how, and you can even have the, if you want to exercise, all the important things you can exercise in there, and the medical facilities, everything is inside the International Space Station. And also, if you have any definitely you will be there, staying alone. There is a high chance that you will be having psychological issues. It has also got that psychological support system to take care of your mental health. What not? ISS is having all this. The key important thing is, how do you construct such a colossal thing in the space? You know that constructing a house is very difficult and you need support from interior designers, architect and engineers and construction worker. It is a teamwork. Just like this, the ISS was also constructed with the support of all the collaborating countries, and they took over a decade, 10 plus years, and 40 plus missions were sent, including a lot of rocket launchers, space shuttles and Russian Proton rockets carrying a lot of things. So the robotic arm was used to assemble parts, and astronauts had to take long spacewalk. A lot of astronauts had to go up, they had to do a long spacewalks. They were just like the construction workers. They connected everything, did the maintenance task, connected the solar panels, the other materials in the ISS. So it was a great teamwork from all of these people. And in 1998, Zarya was the first important mission that went up for the creation of ISS. So great teamwork has created this. So what exactly is the concept of space omics? Sounds very interesting. Space omics. So it's ultimately a study of how your human body and how humans are connected and dependent, and what are the important changes on your human body when you are exposed to the space environment. In short, how can the space environment relate and make changes in your human body is all Space Omics doing. The NASA has the famous study which was called as the twin study. Take a famous example of NASA's the twin study, when NASA examined identical twins Mark Kelly and Scott Kelly. And Scott Kelly spent 1 year in space and they were exposed to space environment, and when they came back, studies found out that between Mark Kelly and Scott Kelly, 8,600 genes were expressed differently. So that is huge learning for humankind to understand about space. And you know that India is also a key partner in understanding and collaborating with Spaceomics study, which is going around the world. So I think definitely you should be knowing about Spaceomics. So how does space flight affect human body? We have discussed about Spaceomics and how does it affect human body. You know that it's microgravity, and your body is very weightless, and your bones can become very, very weak. The bones can become very, very weak, and there is even a situation where the food is actually moving through the gut very slow. That can make you gain a lot of weight. And 70% plus of the astronauts who were spending time in the space have developed a syndrome called as SANS, S-A-N-S, which is a space flight associated neuroocular syndrome. It can happen to a lot of people, and the fluid actually can get inside your head and cause a difficulty in your eyesight also. And since your body is very weightless, your heart has no function, not a great function to perform. Since the heart is not working, it can actually shrink. So it has problem with your bones, everything. Human body can have a lot of problems. So these are some of the important impact that can have in your human body. Anyways, it was a great topic, starting from Sunita Williams to learn about ISS and everything. By this time we are watching this, let's really hope that Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore return to Earth very safely, and humankind has again the curiosity to learn beyond the Earth and find out what is unknown.